She walked through the glass doors, and the hospital swallowed her. The smell hit her first, antiseptic and old air, and that faint metallic stillness that lives inside hospitals long after visiting hours end. She had been here before. She had dropped her DNA here. She had walked out through these same sliding doors and told the driver to take her home and not looked back. She was looking now. Dr. Okafor was waiting for her at the reception desk. She had expected a bigger man somehow. He was lean and quiet, wire-framed spectacles, white coat, the stethoscope around his neck, the only thing that announced what he was. He greeted her with a small nod, not a smile, not the expression of someone delivering good news, the expression of someone who has been carrying something carefully and is about to hand it over and wants to make sure the handover is done right. He said, "Thank you for coming so quickly."
What did you find?
She said, "What did you find?" He said,
Come with me.
"Come with me." He did not take her to his office. He took her down the corridor. The corridor felt familiar now. Fluorescent lights, pale green linoleum, the slow echo of rubber soles against polished floor. She walked beside him and said nothing. Her gold rings caught the fluorescent light with each step. Her ivory jumpsuit was the brightest thing in the corridor. At the end of the corridor, the emergency ward, the open doorway. She had never been in this ward before. She did not know that a man she loved had walked past this same doorway just hours ago without looking in. She did not know any of that yet. Dr. Okafor stopped outside the open doorway. He turned to her. He said, "Miss Obiora, before we go in, I need to show you something." He held out a printed sheet of paper. She took it. She read it. Her eyes moved down the page, the hospital header, the technical language of science, doing the work that 26 years of searching had not been able to do. And then the number, 99.97%. And two names, side by side, Ngozi Eze, Adaze Obiora. She read it once, she read it again. The corridor was very quiet around her. Dr. Okafor said nothing. He gave her the silence she needed. After a long moment, she looked up. She asked,
"The woman in this ward, she is my mother?"
Dr. Okafor said, "The DNA is conclusive. Yes."
Adaeze looked at the open doorway. She had been searching for this moment for months. She had said a name out loud in dark rooms. She had pressed her hand against cold glass. She had hired a man and dropped her blood in a vial and stood at a peeling blue gate and driven home and lain in the dark and told herself, someone always stops. And now the moment was on the other side of an open doorway, and her feet would not move. Dr. Okafor said quietly, "Take your time." She took one breath. Then she walked through the door. The ward was busy and quiet at the same time, the way hospitals always are. Nurses moving, the low sounds of monitors, the institutional light falling on everything equally without warmth or mercy. She walked past the first bed, the second, the third, and then she saw her. Bed 7. The worn orange-brown headwrap, the pale blue hospital gown over the faded mustard-yellow cover, the IV drip line running from the back of her left hand up to the bag on the metal stand, the small dark cloth bag beside the chair, and on top of the cloth bag, the photograph. The worn, creased black and white photograph of a baby girl, face up. Adaeze stopped. Her body stopped before her mind told it to. She stood at the foot of the bed and looked at this woman. And in the space of a few seconds, a market aisle, a charity hall, a traffic junction, a road. The hand she pulled away. The "keep going," she said to the driver. The woman she left in the dust, who had been saying a name over and over into unconsciousness. Ada. Ada. This woman. She picked up the photograph from the chair. She looked at it. The baby in the photograph, tiny, bundled, eyes closed. She knew this face. She had been seeing it all her life. Not in a photograph, in a mirror. Her own face, before the years gave it cheekbones and a jawline and gold rings. This baby was her. Her hands were shaking. She had not noticed when they started. The 3 gold rings on her trembling fingers caught the fluorescent light above. Dr. Okafor was standing behind her. He said quietly, "She named you before she left the hospital. The name was on the birth certificate found with you on the river. Adaeze. Your mother named you, and the river could not take that away."
Something in Adaeze's chest, that door she had been passing for 26 years, the room with the empty chair in it, opened. Not with a bang, not with a dramatic crash, just quietly, the way a door opens when someone finally finds the right key after a very long time. And she sat down on the edge of the hospital bed, and she pressed both hands over her mouth, and she cried. Not the crying of someone performing grief, the crying of someone who has been holding something for so long that when they finally put it down, their whole body shakes with the release of it. The armor did not crack, it did not splinter, it simply became unnecessary and fell away. The nurse stepped discreetly to the other side of the ward. Dr. Okafor moved quietly to the doorway. He gave her the room. She sat on the edge of the bed and cried into her hands, and the gold rings pressed against her face, and the fluorescent light fell on everything equally, and the ward moved around her as wards do, indifferent to individual heartbreak. She did not know how long she sat there, long enough. And then a sound, very quiet, a shift in the breathing of the woman in the bed. Adaeze lowered her hands from her face. She looked. Ngozi's eyes were open. They were the eyes of someone emerging from a very deep place, slow, unfocused at first, and then focusing, finding the face in front of her and going very still. A long moment passed. Then Ngozi spoke. Her voice was barely there, thin and rough from the drip and exhaustion, but it was there. She said, "You." Adaeze could not speak. Ngozi's eyes moved around the ward, taking in the bed, the drip, the hospital gown, and then back to the face in front of her. She said, "How did you find me here?" Adaeze could not speak. Ngozi's brow furrowed slightly, not anger, not accusation, just the soft, bewildered confusion of someone trying to connect 2 things that her tired mind cannot yet connect. She said, "I saw you at the event. I held your hand. You walked away." She paused. Her voice was very quiet. She said, "Why are you here? Did someone send you? Do you know me?"
Adaeze looked at this woman. This woman who had named her before she left the hospital. This woman who had carried a photograph for 26 years. This woman she had waved away in a market and pulled away from in a charity hall and driven past on a road and left in the dust. This woman who had been saying her name into unconsciousness. This woman? Her mother? The one she had been looking for? She reached out. She took Ngozi's rough, weathered hand in both of hers, the same hand she had once pulled away from. She held it. She did not let go. And she said, in a voice she barely recognized as her own, "I found you. I have been looking for you. My name is Adaeze."
Ngozi went completely still. Her eyes, those wide, searching eyes that had been scanning crowds for 26 years, filled. Not quickly, slowly, the way a well fills when the rain has finally come after a very long dry season. She whispered, "Ada." Adaeze said, "Yes." Ngozi looked at her face, really looked, the way she had looked at her in the market and at the charity event and through the glass of the traffic junction, but this time without the distance, without the glass, without the 3 steps of separation. She looked at the high cheekbones, the jawline, the eyes. She looked at the face she had been looking for in every crowd for 26 years, and it was here, right here, holding her hand. She said, "I looked for you. I never stopped." Adaeze said, I know you never stopped." Ngozi did not pull her into her arms immediately. She was too weak for that. She simply opened them, slowly, the way you open your arms when you have been waiting for something for so long that when it finally arrives, you move carefully in case you frighten it away. And Adaeze, the billionaire's daughter, the woman who never bent, the woman who kept going, leaned forward and let herself be held by her mother for the first time in 26 years.
The ward moved around them. The fluorescent lights hummed. The drip line continued its slow work. A nurse passed at the far end of the ward and glanced over and kept walking. Outside the open ward doorway, Dr. Okafor stood in the corridor. He was looking at his shoes, giving them the room. They stayed like that for a long time. Neither of them spoke. There were no words yet for 26 years. There would be words later, many words, difficult words, questions that needed answers, and answers that would take time to form, but not yet. For now, just this: a mother and her daughter in a hospital bed in Enugu, with fluorescent lights above them and a photograph of a baby on a chair beside them, and 26 years of looking finally over. After a while, Auntie Pat arrived. Chief Emeka was with her. Adaeze had called them from the corridor while Dr. Okafor reviewed the second result. She had said, "Come to St. Augustine's, now, please." They had not asked questions. They had come. Chief Emeka walked through the ward doorway first. He saw Adaeze sitting on the edge of the bed. He saw the woman in the bed. He saw the way Adaeze was holding her hand. He crossed the ward slowly. He sat in the wooden chair beside the bed, the same chair where the cloth bag had been. He looked at Ngozi. He did not know this woman. He had never seen her in his life, but he looked at her the way a man looks at someone who matters enormously to his daughter, with the quiet, respectful attention of a father who has loved his child enough to love what she loves. He said, "Is this her?" Adaeze said, "Yes, Daddy, this is her." Chief Emeka looked at Ngozi. He said, "Thank you for naming her, for never stopping." Ngozi looked at this large man sitting beside her bed with tears running down his broad face, and she said nothing. She just nodded.
Auntie Pat came last. She stood at the foot of the bed and looked at Ngozi, the woman whose child she had raised for 26 years, the woman whose name was on the birth certificate, the woman whose photograph had been in a cloth bag for every one of those years. Auntie Pat said, "I kept her name. I want you to know that. Her mother named her. We kept it." Ngozi looked at Auntie Pat, and for the first time since she woke, she smiled. Small, tired, but real. She said, "Thank you for keeping her name, for keeping her." They stayed together in that ward for a long time, the 4 of them, a family assembled by a river accident and 26 years of searching and a DNA test and a quiet doctor careful enough to look twice. Not a perfect family, not a simple family, but a real one.
Later, when Chief Emeka and Auntie Pat had stepped out to speak with the doctor, and Ngozi had drifted back to sleep, her hand still loosely held in Adaeze's, Dr. Okafor appeared at the ward doorway.
He caught Adaeze's eye.
He tilted his head slightly toward the corridor. She laid Ngozi's hand gently on the white sheet. She followed him out. In the corridor, he handed her a second printed sheet, not the same one as before, a different result, a different panel. She took it. She read it. Her eyes moved down the page, and then they stopped, and she read it again, and a third time. The corridor was very quiet. Dr. Okafor said, "Nothing." She looked up at him. She said, "This cannot be right." He said, "I ran it 3 times." She looked back at the page, at the name at the top of the paternity result. She stood very still. Then she turned and looked back through the open ward doorway at her mother sleeping in bed 7, at the cloth bag on the chair, at the photograph of a baby girl who had been named Adaeze before she ever left a hospital. Then she turned back to Dr. Okafor. She said, "Call my father. Tell him to come back. Don't tell him why, just tell him to come back."
The DNA had found her mother. But it had also found something else. A second match. A paternity result. And the name on it was Chief Emeka Obiora, the man who raised her, the man she called Daddy, the man who had looked Ngozi in the eye tonight and said, "Thank you for never stopping," and had no idea. No idea. How? Part 5.